Hello, my name is Dr. Steele, and welcome to Steele Mathematics, where lessons in Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus, and Calculus are taught. And today, we are going to talk about solving quadratic equations by factoring. Now, there are 4 steps to doing so. And the first step is to make sure that one side is 0. Then you factor the non-zero side. Once you factor the non-zero side, you set each factor equal to 0. And then solve each equation. So what I want to do is I want to show you some examples. So for number 1, we have x squared minus 7x plus 10 equals 0. Well, one side of it is already 0, so we factor x squared minus 7x plus 10. The first thing you do is you factor x squared, which is x times x. Next, you draw a big X. Up top is the product of the leading coefficient and the constant. That's 1 times 10, which is 10. On the bottom, you will put the coefficient of your linear term, and that's negative 7. Now you're looking for two numbers that you multiply to get 10 and add to get negative 7. And those two numbers are negative 2 and negative 5. Negative 2 times negative 5 is 10, and negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7. And since both leading coefficients of the binomial is 1, you just put in those two numbers, negative 2 and negative 5. So you have factored x squared minus 7x plus 10. Next, we're going to set each factor equal to 0. Therefore, x minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 5 equal to 0. Finally, you're going to solve each equation. We're going to solve the first one. You add 2 to both sides, and you have x equals 2. We're going to solve the second one. We're going to add 5 to both sides, and you have x equal 5. Therefore, your two solutions are 2 and 5. Next, we're going to solve x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. One side of it is already 0, so we're going to factor x squared plus x minus 6. First, we're going to factor x squared, that is x times x. Next, we're going to draw a big X. Up top, you're going to put the product of the leading coefficient and your constant, and that's 1 times negative 6, which is negative 6. The coefficient of your linear term is 1, so you're going to put 1 on the bottom. Now you're looking for two numbers that you multiply to get negative 6 and add to get positive 1. And those two numbers are 3 and negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, and 3 plus negative 2 is 1. The leading coefficient for both binomials is 1, so you just put in those two numbers. Next, we're going to set both factors equal to 0. Therefore, x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. We're going to solve the first equation. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and you have x equal -3. The second equation, you're going to add 2 to both sides, and you have x equal 2. Therefore, your two solutions are -3 and 2. Number 3, we're going to solve 3x squared plus 7x minus 6 equals 0. One side of it is 0, so we're going to factor 3x squared plus 7x minus 6. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to factor 3x squared, which is 3x times x. We're going to draw a big X. Up top is the product of the leading coefficient and the constant. That's 3 times -6, which is -18, which we're going to put up top. On the bottom is the coefficient of the linear term, that is 7. Now, we're looking for two numbers that you multiply to get -18 and add to get 7. And those two numbers are 9 and -2. 9 times -2 is -18, and 9 plus -2 is 7. Now keep in mind, one of the leading coefficients is a 3. Therefore, one of those two numbers have to be divisible by 3, and that number is 9. Therefore, 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now notice where I put it. I didn't put it in the same group as the divisor. Never put your quotient in the same group as your divisor. Next, we got -2 divided by 1. That's the other leading coefficient. And that would be -2. So now we have factored 3x squared plus 7x minus 6. Now we're going to set each factor equal to 0. Therefore, 3x minus 2 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. To solve the first equation, we're going to add 2 to both sides, and you'll have 3x equal 2. Then divide both sides by 3, and you have x equal 2 over 3. On the second equation, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and you'll have x equal -3. Therefore, your two solutions are 2/3 and -3. Finally, on number 4, we have x squared minus 3x equal 40. Now, neither side of this equation is 0. Therefore, we need to make one side a 0. And to do that, we're going to subtract 40 from both sides. And we're going to end up with x squared minus 3x minus 40 equals 0. Now this is very important. When you do that, you want to make sure that the non-zero side is written in decreasing order of powers. In other words, the powers of x got to be written in decreasing order. So now we can factor x squared minus 3x minus 40. We know x squared is x times x. We're going to draw a big X. What goes up top is the product of the leading coefficient and your constant term. That's 1 times negative 40 is negative 40. And on the bottom is the coefficient of your linear term, and that's negative 3. So now we're looking for two numbers that you multiply to get negative 40 and add to get negative 3. And those two numbers are negative 8 and positive 5. Negative 8 times positive 5 is negative 40, and negative 8 plus positive 5 is negative 3. Both leading coefficients are 1, so you can just go ahead and put in those two numbers. Next, we're going to set both factors equal to 0. Therefore, x minus 8 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. We're going to solve the first equation. We add 8 to both sides, and you'll have x equal 8. On the second equation, we subtract 5 from both sides, and you have x equal negative 5. Therefore, your solutions are 8 and negative 5. If you know how to factor quadratics, then you would know how to solve a quadratic equation by factoring. All you need to do is make sure that one side of it is 0. And once that happens, you can factor the non-zero side. And once you do that, you just set each factor equal to 0 and solve each equation. I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day.